certain entertainers because they give them that look. Like I said, I worked in the strip club back in the day. Some girls used to, because especially in a black strip club, the thing is the booty makes you money. So anyway, as we discuss this, and I hope my guests were here. We have one of my guests here sitting in the corner. My young nephew here, Alex, is here, and welcome Alex, and we thank him for his time. He is a particular fan of the ladies, and he's been a world traveler. Just as it wasn't that long ago he went to Olympia. I got to meet Alex at Tampa. I mean, hope to see more of him in the future.
Also, too, yeah.
Yeah, but the story is going on really as it wasn't that long ago that the current Miss Olympia champion, that's Natalia Quayle, is being accused of using this product. Um, this is always going to be like she's being accused by the the last previous champion, and that's Sarah Vilgas. This is a thing. It's just been going on for a while now. People, here's the thing is, some say that it is a bit of Sarah's case of sour grapes. Some say it's just how things go. But um, this is just, as like again, I said, I'm not a big fan of either one of them, but I respect their work and everything. So what do folks? I'm gonna post a little video I found, and it's Natalia, talking, and I think she's explaining her situation, more likely addressing the situation with Sarah. So I'll pull it up here. Second.
Champ knows how to win, knows how to lose. You got to be professional. You got to respect your, whoever's competing against you, not only us, but also the industry. I don't think false accusations serve any good for anybody in here. And I honestly was just disappointed to hear that because when I lost, I was very professional. I kept it classy, graceful. I did everything that I was supposed to do, came back better, worked hard. And that's how I think we should approach that, not trying to make someone looks bad for you to look better or whatever.
Well, she addressed Sarah's accusation. Fair to say, but again, is that there's some things that people are feeling like, I don't know. There's some people kind of shaking their head about it, like especially after her last year when she did the Olympia. As you notice, her quads have looked like they have put on a lot more size. Now, this is just, I know it takes a lot of time, but again, I am an outsider. I'm not a professional. I'm just a fan. So, what's your thoughts, Alex?
I don't. Honestly, I really think. Honestly, I don't think she ever took them. I think she really. I take her word for it. She is a doctor. I think she would probably know what's really appropriate, what could be useful for her career as a professional. I really think she. I don't know. If someone would ever use that oil, I don't know. Would have been used for medical treatment or any. Would have been used for medical treatment, not just to enhance how you look or anything. Just be yourself. There's not. Don't have, you can't just use it to cheat or anything.
Yeah. Well, we have here is a man who's been in the game for quite some time. My big brother here, my man, Mr. Big Keith Williams.
Hey Keith,
How
What
you
up?
doing? Hey, what you
how you
doing?
been, Keith?
Good. How
You
you
know,
been, Alex?
yeah.
Been busy. Oh, that's happened.
Me and him have talked about this, and also his lovely wife. Is she around? Is she around, Keith? Yeah. you know, yeah. yeah, yeah. Because I'm still, again, my man has to handle my girl. I guess. But what's your thoughts? Because we have talked about this quite often.
it's very suspect, and you guys have to understand there's a difference between PMMA and synthol injections. And the guy from 5% a long time ago who passed away, he was going to Mexico. It's kind of like concrete, that gets injected in your body. Is But that's very scientific what they're doing, and it's Chris Comer didn't say it. I don't know if you guys seen the interview with Gundy and him on their show, The Muscle Deal, and he was, for a guy like a Gundy to sit here and try to chastise Chris Comer, who's a Hall of Famer, one of the top trainers in the industry, and knows what it looks like, feels like, and everything else. Because I'm not going to name names, but I know guys before this PMMA came out who were using synthol. And synthol, what people have to understand about synthol, you can't test it because it's a synthetic oil, and the thing about it is to volumize the muscle. So what it does is the oil stretches out the fasciitis to make the muscles fuller and bigger. I know one story of a old head bodybuilder who did the New York Pro and literally did it right before he went on stage. And he was a big time bodybuilder who did it right before he went on stage. There's needles backstage and this, that, and the other. And then you pump up. So usually what people have to understand about synthol is that the difference between the PMMA, which is a very hard drug to get, and the synthol, you can order it in the United States. That's why, here's the thing. If you guys remember when they were calling out Derek on stage when he had those lumps underneath his show, and I can send you the picture, it was evident that something had happened. Here's the thing. You're not just going to go to this guy's office for no reason. And so people can sit here, and here's the thing. For a woman to put on that much size in a year is hard to do, no matter who you were. So Sarah may have been wrong about synthetic oil because she didn't know much about, and I didn't even know much about PMMA until I looked it up and found out what it was, because a lot of people know about it. And clearly, if it's this guy this muscle cord who's going on and putting people on blast, and I love it because, a lot of the shit is true. With the scorecards changing and shit, like they do. I experienced it firsthand as a competitor, as an amateur, as a pro. I can consider I've dealt with it firsthand and experienced it. So when it comes to Sarah calling out her, she knew something was different. It's not like Natalia doesn't train hard, but you can clearly see things and the aesthetics of her body that just doesn't look right to go together. And that's just facts. So people can call her a fucking poor sport or whatever, but no offense and all to you two. You guys are fans of the sport. You don't understand the game. And you don't understand the game from the standpoint of what some of these athletes are now willing to do in order to, and that's why Ronnie just came out last week and says, none of these guys would ever be able to compete with us because they're not willing to work as hard as we do. All this fancy shit that's out there, synthol is an old drug. So it's been out there since Ronnie and Marcus Rule and all these guys. Even when Flex Cass got big, I think before the Long Beach Pro, everybody thought he was using synthol. Some people thought he got calf implants. We'll never know. But again, what people don't understand is you just can't test for it. So you can do whatever you want, but it's something that it's an oil. So it's just something, and it's painful. Trust me, I've tried it. It's fucking very painful. I've tried it. I'm not going to lie. Why would I lie to you guys? I tried it. I thought, it was very painful and I didn't like it. So I stopped it. And what it does is volumizes the muscle. That's what it does. But this PMMA is a different drug. This is, if you look at the video, I don't know if you guys went on Muscle Cords deal and watch how they're drawing on these athletes. And there was actually another video, on a place in India or overseas, where they were actually cutting people open, putting pec implants in, putting calf implants in, doing shit to people, and I'm like, this is just insane.
Thanks.
So, and again, Gundy, and his brother are gonna, defend it. Why? Because his brother's in bed. Why is Tamer never in the States anymore? Why is he overseas more than he in the States now? And if you look at the picture of Derek,
Well, here I'm just
bicep, there's clear evidence of something, and I don't think that's synthol, but I'm sure it's probably. Again, this guy has video. And what he says, he goes called the whistleblower, has videos of these guys, Sarah, or Natalia, Derek. Look underneath his armpit. Look, the black spots. Everybody was questioning this shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, here he is. This is the.
And then I'm just trying to connect the dots, and we can speculate from there. But I've never once said that Derek Lunsford has done PMMA injections. So I'm going to put that on the record. I have not said that, so stop trying to put words in my mouth, Chris Aceto. Chris Aceto's a smart man. I don't necessarily not like Chris Aceto, but some of the things he says and some of the just straight up protecting Derek, and I get he's going to have bias towards Derek, but he can't call out anything. He can't call out Derek's arms. He can't call out Derek's lats. He's got to just ride the line, and I get it, but everyone and their grandmother can see that it just looks a little weird. The muscles are smoothed out. They're blurry. This isn't Ronnie Coleman. This isn't Cormier. This isn't LeBron-ish style quality muscle Yates. This doesn't look like this. And then you have Ronnie Coleman in the interview with Eddie Hall saying, if you competed against these guys, against Derek Lunsford, how would you do? And Ronnie just laughs. He's like, I wouldn't even have to train that hard to beat these guys. What does that say about today's athletes? When the former champions can just laugh? Of course not. This would be a walk in the park to beat these guys.
Yeah. And this is also the situation with Tariq, as you know, is my big brother mentioned this earlier.
Just
for shoulders,
judges.
Let me finish.
Shut up, Derek. How fucking you cut off Chris Cormier? This guy's a fucking legend in our sport. And you have the balls to just continue to fucking dig at Chris Cormier and cut him off mid-sentence? Like, respect. Show some respect, Tarek. Who the fuck are you? Okay?
Exactly.
How did you even get your fucking position in this?
Your brother.
Yeah. And here is, I think we have here the full, it should be right here. Oh, here it is. If you want to
I tell them I'm not stopping. Actually, the more you come at me, the more I come at your boy. I'm right here.
Well, let's keep riding.
Here's the hilarity of you.
Slide on it. Slide.
You're like in those old Bugs Bunny cartoons, the sheepdog and the wolf, the coyote that used to fight, but then they'd clock in. How's it doing, Jerry? Good to see you, Frank. And then off camera, what's up, my baby? Love you. You coming to Christmas? And then here,
I
That's
tell
what we
them,
do half the time.
man,
Here is.
I judged the event, and I did not see anything on Natalia Coelho's physique that called to be suspicious. And I have a very good eye.
Yeah,
and you were
very good eye.
And you were 8 feet away.
Yeah, I have a very good eye. I've noticed a lot of things that other judges go, Tarek, hold on. You're right. I have a very good eye for butt implants,
but judges,
for shoulders,
for all
that. Let me finish before I actually
clock judges.
Okay.
Get the clock in.
So
get the clock in.
You know what I mean? I did not see anything suspicious on Natalia Coelho's physique.
Whatever.
I judged the event.
That just tells you how fucking naive you are, you fucking loser.
With Tariq, we all know where his bread is buttered. His brother takes care of him. We have here, shout out to the man, Money J. He says, it's interesting that this IFB substance thing is out after the whole accusation from Sarah Vickers bashing Natalia about synth oil. All right. Also, he says the timing of it is suspicious. Right? There's no time when something comes out. Also, he says, I'm with Alex on this about Natalia. Appreciate that. Also, he said this. He also says, Sean Ray and Bob C were calling out Chris Cormier, saying he's a hypocrite when he's a bodybuilder and takes substance too. So
again, here's the thing that you guys have to understand, and I'm only going to say this fucking one time. It's not a substance. It's an oil. It's a synthetic oil. Substance is anabolic steroids. That's a substance. This is a synthetic oil. It's like an enhancer. So it's not something that's it stretches out the fasciitis. So look it up. It stretches out the fasciitis. You usually use it like if you prime example, if you have a lagging body part, then you put it in that lagging body part. You usually wait 30 to 60 minutes before you go to the gym, and it helps stretches out the fasciitis to make that muscle fuller or bigger. That's all it does. It's not going to make you stronger. It just stretches out the fasciitis to make it bigger. If you look at Sarah's legs and you really understand the sport, and how the fuck, and I said this on Muscle, actually made a post and he tagged me in it. I said, the problem that we have is you got Tarek and these judges judging shows that don't know shit about the sport, that think they know something about the sport because they were grandfathered in by a sibling, and I won't name names, but by a sibling who think they know something about the sport. That's why here's a prime example. The year that the judge couldn't make it to the Omaha Pro that Tina did, you know what the number one question the athletes were asking about the show? Do you know? Who was the head judge? Because that makes a difference. And he was the head judge. And it was a fucking shit show. Let's be real. So when people are sitting here agreeing with amateurs who don't know shit about the sport, no offense to all guys, I know. I've used the shit, and I don't know if Chris ever used it, so I don't know why you would call him a hypocrite. But if you listen to the whole interview, which Chris said, when you look at her quads and the separation of her quads, because what happens is you lose some Big Ramy is another prime example. Hade Koopa, I'll call him out. They were talking about his shoulders in Toronto one year. How he had you can see it. If you have an eye for the sport and you know what it looks like, you can see it. A lot of guys and a lot of girls are using either synthol or now this new drug called PM, and I didn't even know about it. I had to go and research it after it came out. I'm like, what is this? And if you watch the video with them in the clinic and what he's doing to these athletes, the before and after, it's fucking insane. But again, there's side effects and permanent effects to everything. So when everybody's wanting to sit here and say Sarah's hating, she's not hating. She knew something was suspicious because she's been in the sport a long time, and she understands how hard she works and how hard some of these other girls work, and understands how much time it takes to put on size, not on a guy necessarily, but a girl. And if you look at her pictures from 2024 to 2025, and I understand she's a doctor and all this other stuff, it doesn't say that she wasn't training hard, it's very fucking suspect. It's very suspect. But you got to know the sport and understand what the drugs do to understand it.
Well, we have here a man, I call him, he's our Merlin. This is our man, Jeremy, aka the Art of Female Muscle. Thank you for coming through, brother. And I know,
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, guys.
What's up,
yeah,
Jerry?
Hey.
we talked about it a bit, before. Is it cheating, or is it just like anything like the process of any bodybuilder used to help them as they grow their muscle?
As far as what, taking oil?
Oil or the PMM?
I wouldn't lump it in as that. I mean, he's correct. It's an oil, not a substance. But I mean, it falls under the category of enhanced, regardless.
Yep.
Whether it's an oil or a substance.
Somebody who knows what they're talking about. I appreciate it.
Who is not enhanced?
Yeah.
In IFBB Pro Bodybuilding. I mean, anybody, as far as I'm concerned, that's why I call hypocrisy on this. No offense, but I call hypocrisy on it because that's just a case of the pot calling the kettle black. Say, oh, well, you're taking an oil. Yeah, but what the fuck are you taking? Maybe you're not taking oil, but you're taking a substance. You're enhanced just like they are. So quit calling out people for being enhanced when you're enhanced too.
But that's just
the way I see it.
But the difference is, it's like, George, when you sent me, here's a prime example, the whole wellness bullshit. A lot of these girls are going to get butt implants. So what are you really doing? What are you really doing? It's not like getting tits. You're actually getting ass implants.
Right.
To make your ass bigger. The same thing with this oil. It's cheating to a certain degree, but the substance aspect of whether it's a test or EQ or anabolic type of steroids, everybody we know, not everybody, but most of the pros are doing it. Not all the pros, and I remember, prime example, and I'll just Marcus Rule was a guy. If he was a fucking freak of nature.
He was.
But
Yeah.
I remember hearing the story him backstage at the fucking New York Pro. 20 needles, pop, 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 and then going to pump up and jump on stage. And you remember, Marcus Rule just didn't look right. He
didn't.
You're
right. Absolutely right.
But that was part of it, So again, I always tell people it's a fucking painful process. And this PMMA, the problem with it is like getting a butt implant because they're surgically now. If you watch that video, I watched the video where they're doing actual chest implants on these competitors overseas and calves and quads. It's crazy. I'm like, no fucking way would I do that to my body just to compete. It's just no way. Mm-hmm. But again, you can say whatever you want about Sarah, but she understood there was more to Natalya than what she was letting on to be. And clearly all that shit's coming out. Whether it's Steve ripping up scorecards, whether it's these athletes or Derek. I mean, look at that picture of Derek and look underneath his armpit. And everybody was talking about it. And then it kind of went away. About his armpits. The year before that? I mean, look at Big Ramy. Big Ramy, when I competed against him, and here's the problem what people don't understand about these drugs. It takes away some detail. So when even Dorian said it, when you're looking at Chris and when you're looking at Kevin and you're looking at Ronnie and when you're looking at Sean, the detail was there. And that's why Ronnie was like, I'll smoke these guys any day of the week. And what have I always said on this show, the 90s era was the best era in bodybuilding because all they believed was hard fucking work. Mm-hmm. Not fucking taking, or some athletes did, not many did, but somebody like Marcus Rule was part of that era who did the synthetic oil and things. But these guys just worked their ass off. And they knew that Derek, Hade, Samson, all these guys that compete in this era, if they were to step on stage with them, they wouldn't have a chance. They just wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah. We have your comment, shout to my man, Money J. He says, when Chris Camille was saying he kind of sees some possible injections in a suitable way with Natalya. Shout out to our girl. No, I'm sorry, my man KL the Wonder says, good evening, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Also, this is from a man, Money J says, Heidi Choplin, he spelled it wrong, says, didn't go on, he says, didn't go on social media and complain about Derek using synthol oil like a sourpuss. He went back.
He was doing the same shit.
Yeah, he went back to the gym and worked harder, unlike Sarah, who went on social media and whined. Actually, Sarah made an appearance. As you know, this weekend was the Nationals. Shout out to some ladies I interviewed. They got their pro cards. Shout out to them. But she was there, and actually she did an interview with one of the ladies after the show. I was kind of when I saw her on the stage passing out the award for the overall winner for Women's Physique. I was kind of like, I was surprised, but there's still people who are supportive fan of hers. We got here our dear friend, the lovely Miss Nicole Strauss, OCB Pro, future IFB Pro. He says, "Hey everyone, hey Nicole."
Hello.
Shout to a man here, John Simkins says, "What's up? What's up, brother?" Also, our man Rahi Hamilton. The real question is it illegal or not? If not, why have this conversation? If so, then ban it. That's the thing is.
Sorry, I'm laughing because what the fuck is not banned?
Exactly.
What the fuck is not illegal about any of this?
Here's the thing. If you remember, Jeremy, I think it was 92 or 93, and the IFBB tried to ban the diuretic aspects of things. And so they were just testing for diuretics. And it was probably one of the worst Olympias it ever was. Guess what happened? They didn't ban it after that. Because people are coming to see fucking freaking natures. So, I mean, bottom line, that's what it's about. Like you said, what's banned? Nothing.
Right. But this is what's pissing me off about this whole, when I saw this come out, and I haven't seen all of it yet. I've only seen the clips that other people have said about this, but that's what's pissing me off about this. One of the oldest rules of investigative journalism also happens to be one of the oldest rules of law. It's not what you know. It's what you can prove. When you are still tossing around words like suspicious, possible, allegation, shit like that, nothing's proven. Because an allegation by definition is an unproven assertion or an unsupported assertion. So you can make suggestions and you could point to this, you could point to that aspect of the picture. If you don't have the hardcore data, you don't have the proof, you don't have the receipts. Like when they said this about this supposed guy, I guess, who is in Brazil and afraid for his life, talking about this network of doctors or something like that. It's like, fine, you made an assertion. Rule is burden of proof. Back it up. Put up or shut up.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
It was videos of them in the lab.
Okay, but
thing
wait,
is,
where
those
have
videos
they
could
shown
be-
those?
Yeah, those things could be anything.
Where
Like,
have they shown those though? See, I am not adverse to seeing proof. I'm not adverse to hearing another point of view. But I also know the rules of debate, and that's quite simply is, if you make an assertion like that, the burden of proof is on you to show that that's the case. If you don't have it, there's no reason to believe it. You can make suspicion, you can have suspicions and such like that. You got to have the proof. Otherwise, it doesn't.
Think about
Otherwise,
this way.
I can make absurd allegations like that. I don't know jack shit about steroids or PEDs or enhancement, other than the fact it exists.
Well,
That's-
here's the prime
that's it. But,
here's the prime
I mean-
example. When Iris was what? She ended up placing 6th at the Arnold, never lost to Arnold, placed 6th. Why did she place 6th? Everybody remember that?
Well, I was there. I was at that
You remember?
show,
You
and then I
remember
was.
why?
But then she was removed from finals as well.
But you
And
remember why?
I remember why.
The hematomas on her glutes.
Hmm. I do remember that.
So again, when the eye and I always tell people, when the eye in the sky don't lie, and if you have an eye for it, you know what it looks like. That's why Chris was like, something doesn't seem right. He didn't make an allegation. He says, Chris has been in the sport for a long time. I train with him. He's fucking brutal. It's awesome. He's a very intense person. But eyes in the skies don't lie. And these old heads are looking like, okay, yeah, if you match up body parts, and again, Big Ramy was a prime example of that. No offense and all. I mean, this dude had the fucking biggest legs on the planet, but you already knew what was going on. He just didn't have big legs. I mean, and here's the problem. What people don't understand is you can look at Natalia and look at her, and she lacked some of the detail that she did the year before because of whatever she was doing. Big time. Look at the pictures. The detail in her legs from 2024 to 2025, there's a big-ass difference. Hadi Koopa did the Toronto Pros. I mean, everybody was talking about his shoulders. Like, what, you got a shoulder now on top of another shoulder? The human anatomy does not allow for that.
Okay, but here's my question. I mean, I was at the Miss International when when this whole thing happened with her, and I remember when she was pulled from national, she was pulled from the finals, and it was a shock to everybody. It's like here's arguably the greatest female bodybuilder in history, and here she is. She's coming in. I'm trying to remember what the round was, but it's like she is pulled from the finals. And you're correct, it's because of what people were citing. Why did this not happen with Natalia? If everybody has got such a good eye about this, if everybody is saying, oh, well, then if people would have seen the same thing, why didn't Natalia get pulled from the lineup just like Iris did?
Hey, see, you got to go back and look at the video of the guy look at the doctor is actually on stage with his brother in Brazil promoting shows. And he's in the bed with Tamer, and Tamer's making money off the shit too. So, of course, what did he say in this video? Oh, I was there, and nothing looked different to me. Of course it doesn't look different to you because your pockets are being fucking lined by the same person.
But again, also, he's not a head judge. That's Sandy who's a head judge. And I think Sandy would have said something if she noticed something because she's been in the game for a long time. Where we got a comment here, shout to my man. Rahim says, doesn't PEDs enhance as well? It's part of the process.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a
Also,
difference.
yeah. Also, he says, these are influencers more than bodybuilders today. Yeah, it's kind of right because a lot of these they don't have even walk on the stage. Like Sam Sulek is a good example of that. He finally got his pro card. Um, Shout out to all social media right here. I believe the '70s and '80s era was the best because they worked really hard. Yeah. We got
90s.
here. Yeah, in the '90s too. I can get nice a little bit. We got here from a man, Money J says, whether it's oil or substance, it doesn't matter. All these bodybuilders, athletes are enhanced regardless. It's not against any IFB rules. But the
Right.
thing is, should certain things be if it feels like especially if you always hear stories of like one thing with especially use diuretics, if you use it like we had that young lady, Jodie Vance, who passed away from diuretic use, and she was like maybe like a few weeks out from competition, and dehydration can happen. I use diuretics because again I have a large heart condition, and because what it does, it keeps the fluid off my heart from surrounding it, from drowning it. um Here also this is from my man, Raheem Ham says the real issue is you need judges who have good eyes to judge each bodybuilder's band. The thing
Well,
is,
you know what I said? You know what I said, George, on Muscle Cord's deal the other day when he was on live? I said you need to bring in pro bodybuilders. Why do we have a bunch of fucking people on a judging panel who are not pros and not really, no offense at all, don't know what the fuck they're looking at? Because guess what? They're setting the criteria. And they set the criteria all based off of what they think they should know. Think about if you let's put it this way. If you had a Sean and you had a Chris Cormier and you had a let's say Iris Kyle and you had some bodybuilders who actually and let them judge one show the way they wanted to, the outcomes will be completely fucking different because they put in the time, they put in the energy, and understand what they're doing. Fuck Chris Aceto. What the fuck has he done? I mean, like, some of these, what drives me crazy about some of these trainers who want to get on difference? Like you jump on the coattails of some of these pro bodybuilders, but who have you trained? Who have you trained from the ranks of the amateur level and built them all the way up to who they are? None of them.
only person he trained is his son, and he was, as you remember, Chris was married to Laura Craval, but he was just a husband. Just like good example of that is Steve Weinberger. He was married to Bev Francis, but he never competed as a bodybuilder. But everybody takes his advice as the rule of God. You look at Tyler Mannion, who's never been on the stage, who's everybody goes to him for the feedback, but you never, even though your family is part of the sport, you never been active in the sport as an athlete. Folks, I'm gonna pull this video, and I found this video because we go talk about the subject of use of oils or PMAs. Goes back to a situation a few years ago where a
Oh
lady,
yeah,
found,
I remember this.
this
I
is
remember
from
this.
this is from Team Flex, and they're talking about one Dr. Sunny Andrews. If you know who Sunny Andrews is, she is a wellness competitor. She competed, I think last time she competed was 2024. A very popular competitor, but then there was all suspicious about her. So we're gonna pull this here.
As far as what that actually is, that's going to be up to speculation. But, very, very lean, very striated in the quads. And this glute development just does not match at this point. It does not fit her physique. I'm not sure exactly. To me, honestly, it looks like it's some type of an enhancement, maybe a synthol, or, it could be even some type of a plastic surgery. And people have said this stuff about her physique before, and she's denied it. But honestly, it is looking to be that this is just totally out of the normal, right? This is like, even looking at the leg development, the hamstring, the quad, and everything coming into this just does not make sense. And it just doesn't match. And the judges, I think, are thinking similar along those lines. And that's, kind of the reason that she's probably placing down so much further. All right. I would definitely say it has a lot to do with this. And I mean, look at this back shot here. It just does not really make any sense. If this was hypertrophied strictly from muscle, we would see a lot more conditioning going on with the glute itself. You'd see some kind of striations and threads maybe here and there a little bit. Like, look how lean the upper body is compared to what's going on here. So again, it's I'm not going to say for sure that something is at play here, synthol or enhancements. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but I would say something is definitely going on that just does not add up to this being the correct development period for what judges want to see. And that's also why she's scored down on this level, in my opinion. She's not in that top call out. She's in literally the third call out, which is going from first to third at an Olympia. It takes it is difficult to do. Usually first placings at Olympia, you're going to see an athlete be maybe moving a few here or there, or maybe moving down to the top of the second call out. We actually did see that with Julie, who was actually in first call out last year at Olympia, placed. She did move down to second call outs, but I mean, this is just, I really wanted to highlight this to say if physiques are getting pushed too far, it's going to score you down. Okay. And that's where, Sunny kind of did this. I'm not sure exactly how or why her glutes look this way, but this has pushed her way too far. Judges are seeing it and they are scoring in, and she did not place in the top call out either. She was actually in the first call out, but she's not in the top 5. Doesn't look like she's going to be in the top 6 or 7 even. So she's going to be moving down in placings as well this year, which is, again, a kind of crazy thing for that to happen here at this Olympia. So I want to kind of highlight why that might have happened with her. And I think it's what I said in my last video. She has pushed her physique too far from a muscularity and size standpoint. Okay. So if we look at her shots here, you can see, she's got this development to the shoulders. She's got a lot of the really good framework. She's had this type of physique before for a long time. She's had it, but she pushed it too far. Like, her symmetry and everything is good still. It's all correct. But realistically, it's just too much muscle on her frame. And I think that's really what put her down in placings this year. She also did not really nail her conditioning, but I think that's because she came in trying to have so much muscle that it just overpowered her physique and her ability to even get lean enough at this point. I mean, you can see from the back shot here, there's a lot of shape, a lot of muscle going on, but there's not a lot of that condition and not a lot of like that fine tuning shape. You can see there's definitely the markings here of the wellness physique, but it's blurred in the sense of conditioning not being there per se, and also just too much size overall. So realistically, I think that the judges have made a pretty good statement this year so far. We'll see how placings go tonight by the end of it. And I will be doing a full Olympia, physique, let's talk about what the judges changed.
Yeah, this is about both Sunny and Yishina. Yishina was a very popular competitor. We had seen her active for a while. I remember I interviewed a lady who turned pro a while back, and she was working with Yishina. They were working out together, and she told me it was like a great opportunity for her because she was probably one of the popular wellness competitors. We have here comment here from shout to my man Rocky Hamilton. Says this. He says, Keith, sometimes not even pros know. Look at how WE put former pro wrestlers as bookers and how bad they are at that, or former basketball players who sucks as coaches. Well, not all the time. Sometimes you have a few, it's usually the superstars. Like I remember Larry Bird when he was coaching the Patriots.
Your mic's off, Keith.
Here's the thing, Raheem. What you're saying makes absolutely no sense because there's some fucking people who understand that a Tom Brady, a Michael Jordan, some LeBron James for that matter, understand that they're built to maybe manage and own a team, but they're not built to be coaches. That's just the bottom line. It's the same thing in NFL. You got these coordinators going. I mean, think about this in the NFL. We'll take this as a prime example because I pay attention to it all the time. You got these guys who are coordinators to go to other places, and they become head coaches. Now, everybody's built to be a head coach. Now, everybody's built to be a leader. Some people are just built to be coordinators because that's what they're good at. And so that's the difference. And so there's a thing where that guy's talking about smooth muscle versus conditioning. And you guys cannot tell me by looking at Natalia's pictures, if you look at if you can pull them up and look at 2024 and look at 2025, there's a lot more smooth muscle than muscle detail.
What did I say was the first thing I said when I saw her pictures at the Olympia.
What?
You could
Go
tell
come in. Go ahead,
how-
Tina. You got the floor.
Yeah. And like Tina said, you can tell when she went on stage that she was doing something different.
I said it right away when I saw it.
As soon as Tina seen her on stage, she goes, she's doing something different. She didn't say it was synthol. She didn't say it was PMMA. She goes, she's doing something different because, again, what that guy is talking about, when you use these oils, and here's a prime example. I just looked at a video of me competing against Big Ramy in New York Pro, can't remember, like 8, 9 years ago. He was a big ass dude, and that was probably one of the dudes who I said, compared to myself, I'm like, this is a big ass guy. But if you look at his picture, he had these big quads, but he just lacked details. And when you're talking like a Sean, and you're talking to a Chris Cormier, and you're talking to a Dorian Yates, and you're talking to a Ronnie Coleman, that's why they call that. That's why this shit's laughable to them. If you're talking to Iris Kyle, who was the hardest working woman in the sport, who took it to the extreme, and that's kind of why the women's bodybuilding went back. And I'm not knocking her for it. But she took it to the extreme where she was so. I remember seeing her in I think it was 09, I can't remember when it was. And she was just got off stage with Prejudge. She came around the corner and scared the shit out of me because her face looked like a skeleton because she was so lean and so hard. But again, that was just hard work. That wasn't, again, gear is gear, but that was just conditioning. And that's what everybody's trying to talk about these days. Is you're rewarding, and that's what Ronnie's talking about. I laugh at Derek Langford. I laugh at some of these guys because these guys don't have the conditioning and the detail, and that's what that guy was talking about. Smooth muscle versus conditioning and detail and muscle at the same time, and that's what the sport is lacking these days.
Yeah, we have here shots on our man. Josh says this. Josh says they should have former bodybuilders be judges at shows.
I said it last week.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question. I got a question for Keith.
Yes.
You were saying about that the reason why Natalia didn't get pulled, or the reason like Iris did at the Miss International, was because it was a tamer was involved or such like that. How do you then explain all of the other shows that Natalia placed first at that were pro shows where that didn't happen? She's winning first after first after first, but Tamer's not in charge of all of those.
Again,
so if people were paying attention to this, why didn't she get pulled from any of those?
Here's the thing. This is the first year she brought this package, right? Correct? This is the first year she brought this package in 2025. Again, what I'm telling you guys is to go look at, and I'm not knocking what she did in the past because she looked great. But again, you can tell what she was doing this year to win versus what she's done in the past with her conditioning. I mean, I wasn't impressed with her body because her conditioning in the past was way better than it was in 2025. Way better. And again, if we're talking about women's physique, that is not a women's physique body. It's not. It's not. So I'm not trying to knock her from her other dubs, but I'm saying, I think what she did the show in Mexico right after she did one Olympia. So what the fuck do they really know? Because who knows what the judges were there. But again, at the end of the day, what I'm saying is when you look at these people, and Heidi Cooper, like somebody made a comment, Heidi Cooper never said nothing when Derek won because Heidi Cooper was doing the same shit. So nobody's going to go out there and blatantly say it. But again, I'm not knocking him, but if you really look at her pictures from 2025 and say you like to look better than 2024, you're nuts. Because it's not the same. It's not. It is not the same. It's lacking details, and people like Tina been battling with this guy like, oh, you just hate Natalia. I don't know neither one of these chicks. I don't care. But at the exact same time, and I'm not fans of either one. I thought what year when we was in Orlando, and Natalia walked by me, and I looked at her and said she got robbed because I thought she should have beaten Sarah that year. But she lost to Sarah. I don't know why. You guys got to understand there's a lot of politics and bullshit, and that's what's coming out now about the sport. Raquel, who was, the vice president of the IFBB before Tyler came in, and he, again, what was he saying? He didn't like the way the direction of the sport was going, and it's not getting better, and that's the problem. And when you understand How do you get your fan base back? You got to start by actually being honest, putting the right people in position and not the wrong people in position to win and lose shows. But this has been, and I can tell you guys, this has been since I've been an amateur, I've been hearing this shit. And I've been a pro for 16 years now. And I've been hearing this shit since I got in the sport. Before I even knew about the politics and the bullshit, I start hearing it, and then I start seeing it, and then I start understanding it. And that's the difference. So, Jeremy, to answer your question, I'm not knocking what she was doing before because I can't remember what year we were in Orlando because it wasn't a couple years. I think it was the first year I was in Orlando, and I seen her, and I was like, man, I walked up to her and says, you got robbed. I remember saying, I'm like, you looked amazing. And she lost to Sarah. Again, at the end of the day, what judges tell us as athletes is like comparing apples to oranges when it's that close. But again, what she did this year, if you really look at the pictures, yeah, her quad. I mean, do you know how hard it is for a woman to put that much size on her quads in 9 months?
Any muscle group.
Exactly.
Any muscle group.
So come on now, let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean and if you really, it's like if you really look at her legs and the way it was going, and that's what Chris Premier said. It's just something not right about this. Again, you're right, Jeremy. You're 120% right. All it is allegations. But when you're looking at something as a judge and you sitting there saying, in 9 months you were able to do this, and now you're lacking detail, but you have more size. Come on.
So this is my question for you guys. Can you walk past a girl and notice that she's had tits? Not no, but you look at her and be like, man, she's had implants. Can you guys do that?
Well, my experience, is I worked in a club, so I could, pay attention because you know what, natural breasts are more fuller, they're more fluid.
As
Implants have that.
As a pro fucking bodybuilder, allegations or not, I looked at her on stage as she was performing and said, she obviously is using something like Synthol. I said it from jump, and I don't give a shit if you like what I say or not. I am a pro. Sarah is conditioned. You can see muscle striations. She looks fucking normal. No offense and all, but Natalia hasn't come out and said, that wasn't me in the video. I'm charging somebody with defamation of character. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Have we heard that yet? Just asking for a friend.
She was in the doctor's office.
Nobody has come out and said, that wasn't me.
In a doctor's office.
And that dude is not going to put that shit out on social media and not have facts. Just saying.
Yeah.
So when you guys see a woman say she has fake tits, us as bodybuilders can look at people and say, well, clearly she's using something other than PEDs. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's all she's going to say on that. So calm down. Take a deep breath. All right, have a man here, Raheem Hamilton in the building. Raheem, hey, Raheem, before we start, how about them Bears?
Nope.
Raheem.
The Bears.
I didn't say shit.
The Bears.
Say shit.
Well, they beat Cleveland. They beat Cleveland yesterday, so they doing good. The Bears.
You said Cleveland.
The other Bears talking about Cleveland, but we know his girl is very enhanced. So So what you got to say, Raheem? That you came on.
First of all, every woman today in 2025 is enhanced. Bodybuilder, non-bodybuilder. What is the purpose? But the Synthol situation, the question of the day is, I know it's a great conversation, but is it legal or illegal for someone to point it out that, oh, this person's been using Synthol? If Synthol's been used, like you said, Keith, in bodybuilder to cover certain places and everything, is it illegal to the point where you could call the other competitor out and say, hey, this person was cheating, but is it in the rule book of Synthol not being used? Yes or no? So that's what I'm saying. If it's not there, then
that is why everybody is using words like allegation and suggestion and rumor, because if anybody flat out comes out and says she is in point of fact on Synthol, then yeah, she could sue. That's one of the reasons why everybody's using the word allegations, because they're all covering their asses legally.
So when I was an amateur, it was a big deal about gynecomastia. And gynecomastia is
Right.
when guys use
Mm-hmm.
certain gear, and I was one of them who was using something
Bitch
that a
tits.
trainer that gave me, and I got bitch tits. And I remember I was
Yep.
shooting a photo shoot right before USA Bodybuilding Championships in LA. And Bill Comstock looked at Flex and looked at my brother and says, "We have a problem." Because they were starting to talk about it before we had this, podcast. They were talking about it on muscular development, the forums, and all this other stuff about how athletes should get knocked on. Well, meaning guys, not girls. Guys actually should get knocked for having
Oop.
Well,
We
we
just
lost
lost
it.
Keith.
Sorry about that.
Give him a second.
So they start talking about gynecomastia. I literally had to leave LA, fly home. I think it was maybe 10 weeks before USA's, have Dr. Jarvis cut my nipples off, take the breast tissue out, and put them back on. And literally, I had probably about another 4 weeks of recovery before that. So I couldn't lift or do anything because they were talking about knocking athletes with gynecomastia. Now, you don't see it these days because now there's estrogen blockers for guys who use gear who have high estrogen levels and things like that. It's no different because you can see it. Bitch tits, right, Jeremy? You can see it. Bitch tits, you can see. You don't see it as much anymore as you did back in the day because they couldn't do it. But there's a lot of guys who went through the procedure that I went through, and that was a shit. I should have got fake tits because it was $5,000 for that procedure. $5,000, right, straight up front for that procedure. And I ended up still placing second at USA's to Greg Torin at USA's in Vegas. But again, what I'm trying to say to you guys is the eye. You can see it. Gynecomastia, you can see. Bitch tits, you can see. Synthol, you can see depending, like if you go back and again look at the pictures of David Larrick Lunsford, he had two black, like look like boils underneath his arm, and didn't get knocked for it. And it's like, again, the problem that we're having is if a bodybuilder like Chris Camille looks at Derek, he's gonna look at him a certain way if he's judging, that is, and be like, yeah, that's not right. A judge who's just there judging because Derek's sponsors or if you think about it, when Derek won, who gave him the fucking trophy? His sponsors. You know why? Because they were the lead sponsors of the fucking Olympia. So I remember Charles telling me, Keith, you have no idea how many checks get passed back and forth between these people who run these shows as far as where they position their athletes. And so there's politics that come involved. So as much as we may see it, and understand and see it, that doesn't mean that the judges are not going to turn a blind eye to it because
Yeah, I know.
that's what everybody's talking about right now.
I remember, for crying out loud, she was just on Jada Beverly. That was something that
Yeah,
happened with her. And that it's like, even someone like Linda Murray was pointing that out
Yeah.
at that particular show that she got really knocked down. But it's like Jada was wondering what was going on. Linda was wondering what was going on. Because Linda had her place, I don't know, but it was like, it wasn't where she was. I think she would got like 13th place
Well, in
or
Germany,
something
what
like
they
that. But it's like Jada was looking around like at the judges going, what's going on? They were not making eye contact. According to her, they were making eye contact with her. And
and
Linda
what the
was and
problem
Linda
was,
was
and what the
asking was
problem
asking,
is with Linda when you're asking about not Linda but Iris when she went on stage, there was clear signs of hematoma knots. They look like little knots,
I saw them.
and and
I
there
was there at the show. So yeah, I did see those.
and here's I'll give you a prime example. I was at the Tampa Pro and I was at God damn it, I used to compete against him. He has a gym in Tampa, and this guy was doing this stem stuff, so it like shocks muscles. So it was a guy from overseas. Actually, they were working on him to try to get rid of him before he competed, and I can't remember his name. He was in there before I was. I was doing my pre-workout deal before the show, but they were trying to help get rid of those knots because hematomas are bad. Gynecomastia for a male or female are bad deals because the judges can blatantly see that because they're injection sites,
Which is why she got pulled.
and that's why she
because
got pulled.
because it was fairly clear. But here's another question I have. I don't know. I think this picture. I wish I could find it. I wish I could post it here. This is what I saw. This I think was at the Mexico show after the Olympia, and people were using this picture as evidence for Natalia oiling again. She was she was doing a front double bicep pose with Autumn Swanson standing right next to her. And everybody was looking in the same place that they were talking about for this supposed injection site on, I think it was her left quad.
Yes.
I think is where people were going. And they were saying that and saying, oh, well, this is further evidence of it. I looked over at Autumn. She has the exact same mark in the exact same place. Everybody is hyping up about Natalia. Nobody said a damn thing about Autumn. Why is that?
Well, that's because she's a champion.
Right.
I mean, seriously, Holly
Yeah.
Cooper. I heard it. Me and Tino at the World Championships in Arizona one year, and they were talking about Hadi and how his shoulders didn't look right. And it's not me saying it, this is me listening to some higher ups how his shoulders didn't look right. That's why he moved from 212 to open, because he just couldn't make weight, and so he went to open, and clearly it was a good move for him. But again, when you look at somebody like, here's a prime example, Keon, the 212 champion, that's real muscle. That's real authentic muscle. And again, when I say this, guys, we all know it's enhanced by PEDs. We know that. But it's not supersized by what some of these people, and I don't know who's all doing it. I was fascinated by it. I was like, wow. I seen a video before that even came out of actually them enhancing these foreign guys, these Indian guys overseas, putting pecs, quads, calves. And if you notice, if you go back and look at that video, I wish you can find it for him, George, and look, there's a video where MuscleTalk, the whistleblower in Brazil, was in the office, and Natalia was in there. Derek was in there. They didn't show the pictures of who they were actually working on, but they showed it's like chalk lines and dots and stuff, and they're watching this doctor inject them because, God damn, Rich Piazza, that was the guy. He used to go to New Mexico and do it. It was like concrete almost. If you ever look at Rich Piazza, he just never fucking looked right. But he was going to Mexico doing the same thing before all this shit even came out. And Lord knows he never became a fucking anything. But again, they're diagramming this chalk and these dots, and that's where this doctor is injecting this PMMA stuff into these athletes making them look like that. I'm not going to go into a doctor's office. I remember going to Panama to see my doctor, and went to the lab and everything, this, that, and other, and got my prescriptions and all this shit for all I need to use. I'm not going in there just to look around. I'm going in there to go shopping. These guys are not going into these fucking doctor's office just to hang out and look around. And then the next thing you know, this guy's on stage with Tamer in Brazil, and like hugging up, buddy. I'm like, come on, dude. We're like, come on. 2 + 2 is 4 the last time I checked.
Well, here we got here. We have a comment. We got a comment from a man here, Money J. Says, I agree with Jeremy. You have to show proof and evidence.
And I'm not going to. Sorry, go ahead.
Also, he says, Sarah, shells who can't prove anything, just spew nothing but allegations. And here we have it's just from him. He says, well, if they should have bodybuilders judging for Olympia and any other pro shows, they should have done this years ago. Why?
It would make the sport 2 year.
Yeah. You think
certain people wouldn't make as much money as they're making.
Nope.
Well, you can't say that every bodybuilder knows how to judge, because here's the situation. Just like I'm gonna go and say this, not every basketball player could be a coach, and we see how that happens. That none of them were great coaches. Some were, some weren't. Even though they was like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a great hell of a basketball player, but when it came to being an owner, he was terrible. You got the situation with WWE and all wrestling. They letting ex-wrestlers be bookers. And you see now that they tearing the wrestling company to the ground. AEW, TNA, WWE, all example. So you want to be selective of what athlete could be a good judge as a bodybuilder. You don't want to bring every bodybuilder in as a judge, because guess what? Not every bodybuilder can judge other competitors because they focus on themselves. So,
and your point is very well taken in that regard. I remember there's a general who was named von Clausewitz. He said, I've seen very good colonels become very bad generals. So your point is taken. However, the problem is, just because every bodybuilder can't be a judge doesn't mean that you don't have bodybuilders who can be judges. and who do have the ability to go and look at
I
and
know.
do
I
have the
agree with you. I
ability to
say
point at that. But that's the point.
I agree.
How
You gotta
many
be
of the
selective.
judges out there in the judging panels are these former pro bodybuilders?
This is
Was
something
it?
I
But let me ask
also
you a question.
There are many.
Isn't what's that? She know Monique Jones. Isn't she a judge? Why don't they just bring her
No,
up into the pros?
no.
well, that's up
Did
to
she does?
her. If that's up to her, she wants to. I also, as I do content on martial arts and MMA, the fighting style between MMA and boxing is totally different. They have judges that are boxing judges, and many of them don't look at the same thing because with MMA you have to have cage control, you have takedown, and also you're not just fighting with your fists, you're fighting with your elbows, your shoulders. People saying they be bored because but the thing is, the judges who understand MMA are looking at the sacred groundwork. We get some opponent on the ground, submission attempts, and all that. But then you have coaches who don't understand. I'm saying you don't have judges don't understand that. That's why I say, like my man coach, um, Coach Sharon Harrison. He talks about how get former fighters, get referees to be judges because they understand the aspect of MMA. Because many of them understand everything comes from we have an opponent in the cage, gets the cage or cage control. We have them, down on takedowns. Like again, many of those judges they are pulling are coming from boxing, where it's just mostly moving, ducking on this and other stuff. We have here a comment shot to my man here. He says, well, it should have been. Oh wait, sorry, same thing. I say this. Okay, he says this. He says, I strictly remembered keep saying that Sarah Vigors was not the standard criteria looked for women by physique for a few years ago when she was champion. If that's the case, Sarah, should not have won Miss Olympia 4 times. But that's the thing
What?
is,
Well, yeah, but it's like you look at the top five over the no, you look at the top 10 over the last 5 years compared to the criteria. Who is meeting it?
None.
Who's been doing that? None of them are.
yeah.
And why
So
is that?
They
So
keep
what
changing.
is the criteria? What is the criteria?
There's
you
Well,
you go and find if you go over to NPC News Online and you go over to the rules section and you'll see criteria for all of the individual divisions. And what you will see for women's physique is you'll see a list of what you're not supposed to be. And the 4 words that start that list are ripped, peeled, shredded, striated. You tell me, does that describe the women you're looking at right now on screen?
exactly. And guess who
and
said
this
it?
and this
And guess
is
who
this
said
is
it?
and this is number 1 and number 2. This
And
It
is
guess
looks
who
not
like
no,
more
said it?
like body.
this is not number 9 and number 10. These are the top
Well,
2
for,
at the show.
well, physique is more blurred now. It looks more like bodybuilder than physique.
That's
So,
that's the point. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be distinct. It's not. That's
but
because
they gave
they're
it to
not sticking
yeah.
with the criteria.
Well, the judge
And
is
this
not
is
sticking
this
with the criteria. That it's the judges,
and,
not the athletes, because the judges could say, "Well, we're not going to give this award to you because you're not sticking to the criteria," and then they could have by next year they could have
That's the
changed, they could have
point.
toned
That's the
down.
point. The judges are not doing that. The
They're not
judges are not
consistent.
sticking with the criteria. They're not
and
being consistent.
and this is autumn. I think this is back. I think 2018 or 2017 at the Olympia, where she's been on Olympia. She's been like in the top 5. This is also from her a view from I think this is maybe around about 20. I can't see which. I think I know it's got to be 2016 or 2017. No, 20.
Boo!
Yeah. Well,
Boo!
Hey, just if the athletes get called out on them, just tell them to be honest about it.
yeah.
Don't boo the legend. That's the
Damn
he
straight
laid
I
the
can
map
boo
down.
him. I can
Don't
boo
boo the
him all
legend.
I damn well want.
Who?
Don't boo the legend.
I can boo Arnold all I want if he pulls women's bodybuilding, women's physique, and figure
But
out his damn show. I can do
but I
that.
mean,
I can do that.
but you know what? He called the shots. I mean, he does. Listen, there's so
No,
many
he
shows
don't really call too
for
much a
women.
shot.
There's so many. But I'm saying there's so many shows for women bodybuilding. I mean, if he pulled it, I mean, I get it. You're upset, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, he
Here's
pulled
the
Don't
it,
call
thing.
but there's
yourself a
other
fucking
shows.
sports festival and you're pulling out fucking women's sports. Bullshit.
And this is not.
And
Yeah.
I'll
And this
call you
is
out on
not.
that, Raheem.
And
Don't
right.
call it a
But
sports
but
festival or the
keep
Olympics when you're pulling out certain
but
categories.
keep. If that's the truth, then why do women show up to the Arnolds every year? They know. Listen, if you know
Because
they pulled it out, why would you want to go there?
Okay,
because
Why
Raheem,
as
do
would
I
you
was
go?
hold?
told, as I was
Do you?
told, A
Sorry, go
lot of
ahead.
those ladies come because they are either friends of somebody. Plus, they still have the other divisions in the amateur part because that's where they make money. No, I was talking with as you know, as I said earlier, I did a little little early today. I did a little uh discussion with the female bodybuilding channel. We talked about how what we just had a nationals and they had the most women bodybuilders competing in you had a stat class like last year they had to take and make one class for the whole women bodybuilding division and one lady won. She won in physique. This year you had the least. Some of those ladies they also double dipped and some were mostly exclusive women's bodybuilding, but you had at least altogether, you had light heavyweight, heavyweight. You had at least about 12 to more women competing for the pro card. The Arnold, one problem is that every year, the last few years has come up short. It has been no ladies who under pro card in physique ever since they had women's physique at the Arnold Classic. They started doing women's bodybuilding the last couple of years and had none because they don't have enough about the numbers. These ladies come support a friend or a buddy. They still have somebody who does either the amateurs or fitness competitors. Just put out the list for fitness this week. Two ladies have interviewed on my channel are competing. That's Anna Femina and Jessica Zari. And this is going to be the first Arnold, since she's been a pro. Then you still have wellness. There's a lot of ladies who friends with wellness. Bikini. And most definitely he's going to add it. Excuse me, fit model because these, and then also some of the ladies work the booths and stuff. Like Andrea's gonna be there working for Mutant. I know I saw last year when I saw this year I saw Lola Montez. I saw a bunch of ladies there. Sheila Washington was there. Michelle Johnson was there. Teresa and Vossick were there. There was quite a lot of ladies. They go there to support those competitors, also, or work the booths, or even do a little politicking. Maybe hit up with
Okay,
some promoters.
so they networking. That's good. So why we booing Arnold? If he made the decision to pull it out, unfortunately that's his decision. But then you also got to look at what happened with the New York Pro. You see how many lack of female bodybuilders came there, and now they pulling that out next year. So it's like you said, this is politicking, and at the same time, it's a sport that needs to find its identity and everything, and can gain new fans and bring back the old fans back. So it's a lot of work to be done. And also, I think the tires should just go switch up the bodybuilder because she's getting too big. That's just me.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
but
it's,
here's
it's,
here's a really big difference. Raheem, were you aware that the Miss International for 35 years was the second most prestigious title in all of women's bodybuilding?
Yes, I do.
It was that way for 35 years. This is
Yeah, I do.
also this guy who is running the show also was sat and interviewed and said there should be a place for bodybuilding for everybody. This is the same guy who said that. If that's the
Why he
case,
created the
why are you
Arnold
pulling it
Sports
from your own
Festival.
show?
well,
Why
actually,
he called
Right.
the Arnold Sports Festival.
actually, if I remember correctly, he didn't create it. He took it from another. It was called the Columbus Sports Festival. He
Yes.
took it because as Jeremy said, Miss Olympia predated, and it was part of that. Miss International was part of that, and then it was it's right there behind Miss Olympia. It's one of the oldest, most prestigious titles. Quite a few ladies, especially for ladies who like people like Laura Craval, Vicky Gates, a couple of ladies who said, you know what, I'm never going to be Miss Olympia. This is a nice secondary title to have. But then when Iris came along and started competing, and you're the current Miss Olympia, that kind of take the prestige out of it a bit because, and one thing was, I think the thing was that, Iris is about making money. They should have been paid, like she's getting $25,000, where you look at other guys like Ronnie or, or Jay or whoever was champion at that time were getting maybe $100,000 or more. I would say that she should at least get $50,000. She wouldn't do a show like Miss International if she was making money. Like let's talk about like with Andrea. Again, I say this: you're Miss Olympia. Your title is probably one of the oldest